I'm the news that nobody expected. I was never a part of your plan. I'm the reason why life as you know it feels like slipping through your trembling hands. And the doctors say I'm just an option, a mistake you can make disappear. I may not have a voice, but I'm more than a choice. I'm as real as the heartbeat you hear. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. I am God's miracle in the making, proof that all things can work for the good. I am fingers and toes, and heaven already knows the name you pick out for me already belongs to me. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. Every life is sacred, and every life is a gift, and every life deserves a chance to live. I know you're scared, I know you're scared, I know you're scared right now. But when you hear my first cries and when you look in my eyes, you'll understand why you brought me to life. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. That was yours truly singing Untold, written by Matthew West.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jewish Pro-Life. We're here for news, entertainment, enlightenment, and spiritual renewal. We have a special show today. We're having a discussion with 4 wonderful pro-life Jewish women. And we're going to talk about our experiences as Jewish women in the pro-life movement. I'm Cecily Routman, the founder and president of the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation, and I'm so pleased to introduce our 3 guests today. We have Alice Lemos from New York. We have Liz Gabert from New Hampshire. And we have Bonnie Chernin from New York City, Brooklyn. I'd like everybody to go around the room and briefly share a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in the pro-life movement. Alice, you can go first.
All right. Okay. Why I became active? I was 40 years old when my son was born, and that's not very common. It actually is exceedingly rare. It may be something like 5% of pregnancies are those to women 40 years old or older. It's actually closer to 41. And at that point in your life, if you don't realize how precious life is and how fortunate you are to have a child, then something is wrong with you. It was also during that time period that I started to hear about partial birth abortion. And when I heard about that, I was absolutely horrified. I had considered myself to be somewhat pro choice. But when I heard the description of what happens, and I started to meet pro-lifers, I realized all abortion methods are barbaric, all of them, not just partial birth, which is out and out infanticide, but there's D and X, D and E, saline. These are just gruesome. And I started to think about the victims of abortion, which are these poor babies who are buried in landfills. They're not even given a decent burial. And I started to wonder also about who are the politicians that are pandering to these radicals. I remember Bill Clinton would refuse to sign the bill banning partial birth abortion. And I remember the debate between Barbara Boxer, who in a just world would be, working on King's Highway selling bras because she's a woman of no accomplishments, Her big accomplishment is being a big abortion supporter. That's essentially it. The debate between her and Rick Santorum, who's the father of 8 children, one who died, I think, shortly after being born, and another child who I believe has a chromosome defect. And I saw the difference between the way they were characterizing the babies. To Box, it was the fetus. And when you take the baby home in a taxi, meaning the baby is not a life, does not have a right to live until you decide to take him or her home. I was really horrified by that. Plus, I am Jewish. I'm not particularly religious, but I was offended by somebody like Boxer and Schumer. And I said, people think this is a typical Jewish point of view. And I'm going, no, this is wrong. This is not a pro-death religion. I would not stay in a religion which supported this. I would convert out. That would be it. So that has something to do with my becoming pro-life. Plus, I have to say, with some exceptions, on the whole, pro-lifers tend to be much nicer and happier people. I think that we have a better attitude towards life, that life is worth living.
Thank you so much, Alice. Really appreciate that. So heartfelt and sincere. Thank you so much. Okay, Liz, would you like to share with us, please?
So, really, to be honest, I hadn't even thought about the life issue to speak of until I came to New Hampshire. I have to say that. And that was only in the last 5 years. And so it wasn't on my radar. Actually, politics wasn't on my radar either until I landed in New Hampshire. And if you don't get into politics in New Hampshire, anyway. And so, and then after landing in New Hampshire, I also began questioning. Actually, I began questioning a lot of things because finally in my life, I have 3 children. And I was able to settle down and just think a little bit more as my children were older. And we had lived outside the US for 10 years prior to landing. So my children weren't even raised in America, but we land here. And the first time really I had been amongst a Jewish population, because where I lived in Canada for 4 years before this, there was not. And then when we were in Singapore before that for 6 years, there was no Jewish population to speak of, understandably. And then we came to New Hampshire. I'm from West Texas. You might have picked up on that. So, and there are no Jews to speak of in West Texas. So I didn't grow up. Both parents were Jewish, but then landing in New England, and oh my gosh, there's a Jewish population here. And I'm amazed at the number of Jewish people that were not pro-life. And I was absolutely stunned at that, right? And I get this radio show and I'm looking for people and guests and topics and all that. And I connect here in New Hampshire with quite a number of Christian pro-life groups, Christian, right? And so I have them on my radio show and I begin paying attention and listening. And then I'm going, oh, well, where are the Jews? And I learned that, oh, they're not pro-life, meaning the standard, either Reformed or conservative. So they say Jews are not pro-life. And then I start digging into all this even more. And I am evolving to understand more about life myself, because I just didn't even it wasn't on my radar, as I said. And then I said, oh my, I believe I am a pro-life woman, a Jewish pro-life woman. In fact, I knew I was after I learned about the stages of pregnancy. I just learned a whole lot in a very short time, which I hadn't even thought about. And then I started digging into, the Christian effort and the lack of Jewish effort for life. And that's how I came to be where I am today. And so, on top of that, just one little note is that when I was 19 years old, which not very many people know, I actually had an abortion. And but in those days, it was that glob of cells, right? There's nothing to it. But there was more to it than that, because the emotional impact for me, even back then at 19 years old, maybe 18, was pretty big. Once you do something like that, you feel it hormonally. You certainly feel it, and you realize what you have done. But then your life moves on. You're young and you move on. So I continue to think back about that, of course, and to move forward with what I now know and what I now believe. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much, Liz, for sharing with us. God bless you. Thank you so much. It's so great having you here. Okay, Bonnie, your turn. Just share a little bit about how you came to be pro-life with us.
Okay, hello everyone. I first got involved in the pro-life movement in the mid-1980s. I was living in New Jersey, and just on a whim, I went to a pro-life convention, and I met a lot of pro-lifers there. Nobody was Jewish, by the way. And I met a woman named Anne Saltenberger, who wrote a wonderful, well, it's an important book, Every Woman Has the Right to Know the Dangers of Legal Abortion. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I know that legal abortion involves the taking of the life of a child, but what's this? I mean, abortion is supposed to be safe because it's legal. I read the book and I was absolutely appalled at what I've learned and horrified at the many ways, physically, emotionally, psychologically, that women are affected, and the long-term consequences of abortion. And so I decided to get more involved. I started writing articles for my local newspapers. I became very involved in the pro-life movement. I did volunteer work in the early 90s for Manhattan Right to Life. And it was then, at that time, when nobody else knew what partial birth abortion was, that I learned about it. This was around 1993. I started watching films, reading books. Here's another thing. I remember watching The Silent Scream, and I remember watching Eclipse of Reason by Bernard Nathanson, who was one of the founders of NARAL, which at that time was the National Abortion Rights Action League. And I looked at these babies being suctioned, their hands, their fingers, their toes, it was the most awful experience I've ever, just looking at these babies and then knowing that women are being told there's no human being there, that it's just a gob of cells, that it's nothing. And then I learned about partial birth abortion. And I told people about it in my family, and I'm Jewish. And you know the response I got? Everybody said to me, it's pro-life propaganda. And that I was being sold a bunch of they call anti-choice lies. That nobody believed me when I talked about partial birth abortion. It wasn't until, like Alice was saying, I was watching the hearings with Barbara Boxer and Senator Barbara Boxer of California, and she's absolutely she's a horrible person. She sat there, she stood there, and she is clearly seeing the same images that Rick Santorum is showing of the unborn child. And Senator Santorum is wonderful, and he's pro-life, and he was explaining the humanity of the unborn child, and Barbara Boxer is denying it. But in the late 90s, I was pro-life, I was writing all my articles, but I hadn't started Jews for Life yet. What prompted me to start Jews for Life was when I started doing research on the very early internet, and I learned about the National Association of Jewish Women and their very radical pro-abortion stance. And then there was an organization, the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. 729 rabbis were signatories on a letter to President Clinton asking him to veto the ban on partial birth abortion. That did it for me. That was it. That was what motivated me. I said, this can't be true. This can't be real. Who are these rabbis? What are their names? And I did some research. I dug up, I found out who they are. And I said, there has to be another alternative opinion to this. Judaism cannot believe this. They can't believe that it's okay to take a child, stab it in the back of the neck, and then suction out its brains in the late-term pregnancies. I thought it was horrible. So I started Jews for Life, and I started doing research, and I started putting up all of the different traditional and authentic Jewish pro-life viewpoints on abortion. We are a pro-life religion. Anybody says that Judaism is not pro-life is not telling the truth. They're only interested in choice, what they call choice, and convenience, and what they call reproductive freedom. They are the ones using propaganda, and they are the ones who are trying to promote choice, murder as choice. And so that's how I got involved. I became very passionate about this issue, and I still am all these decades later.
Oh, thank you very much, Bonnie. It's so interesting that two of our panelists here today got interested in the pro-life movement because of the ban on partial birth abortion. But like Liz, I'm a relative newcomer to the pro-life cause. I started in 2005 when I was listening to a national public radio broadcast about the review on the ban of partial birth abortion. That there had been an appeal that went all the way up to the Supreme Court again, and they were actually reviewing the ban. And I heard a Jewish woman on national public radio screaming about her right to have an abortion and how her religion allowed it as well, that it was a civil right. I was appalled. And up until then, I had been relatively neutral on abortion, but that just sounded really not kosher to me. And I started to look into it. And of course, the more I learned about it, the more heartbroken I was that I was aligning myself with a religion that seemingly believed that, child murder was allowed in Judaism. And then that created a dilemma for me spiritually and morally, and as a Jewish woman. Moving forward, how could I remain a Jew? I had unaffiliated myself with Judaism several times and always found my way back because, in my heart, I'm a Jewish woman. I have a relationship with Hashem. I feel it. It draws me back when I distance myself. But because there were so few people that I could find in my research that would actually publicly stand up and for life as a Jewish entity, right? I decided I would start the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation and build my own pro-life ministry within Judaism and make a home for myself. And then, God willing, meet other people. And that has really happened. And so here we are today. We incorporated in 2006, and here it is, 2020, and we have a group of women who are able and willing to come talk about this. I'm just so happy. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. God willing, we will grow in numbers. Okay, so I'd like to just go around one more time and have you each share about your struggles, like I just shared about finding a place for myself in Judaism, in the culture and the practice as a pro-life Jew, and a little bit about how you share your message with other people. So we can go back to Alice.
Okay, I am vehemently pro-life. And when I tell that to people, it's very interesting. A lot of people ask me if I'm Catholic. And I say, no, I'm not Catholic. And then they're like, well, you're forcing your religious beliefs on me. I said, this is not necessarily a religious belief, although it partly is. I do believe there's a higher power, Hashem, and we will answer to him. I tried to share my beliefs. I was active in a crisis pregnancy center for 12 years. I used to speak mostly in churches, especially Catholic churches. And people were very receptive to the fact that here is a Jewish woman speaking to a Christian audience about the pro-life movement. I really wish I could speak more in synagogues. Unfortunately, I don't remember how many years ago, maybe Bonnie remembers this, a synagogue in New York City, I think it may have been Rodef Shalom, had a program, One Voice for Choice. And they invited Kate Michelman, who I guess is an excommunicated ex-Catholic, to speak, and a whole bunch of pro-abortion people. I phoned the synagogue to protest, as did a couple of us who are Jewish. But I thought, what a shanda, what a terrible thing, called One Voice for Choice. There are some Jews who are pro-life, and then utilizing a synagogue. I mean, what next? Child sacrifice on the bima? I was really horrified by that. There are some Jews, I know, I have some friends who became Orthodox and some are converts who are very, very pro-life. And they vote, I know they vote pro-life. It's an important issue to them, but they need to get it out in sermons and speaking to their neighbors that this is important. This marks us. What is it in Exodus? I give you the choice of life. We must choose life. I was so happy to hear the rabbi speak at the Yale conference. He's from Queens, by the way, and I'm going blank on his name. What is his name? Bovit, Rabbi Bovit. He was so good because he went into the religious aspect, the sociological aspect, and the human rights aspect. Because I really feel like saying to some people, and I know they're very left wing, and they tend to vote pro-abortion. Don't you want to see grandchildren one day? Or isn't it wonderful that you have a grandchild? What would you do if your children decided to abort your grandchild? Do you realize you have no legal standing to stop this? I think we really need to make this in terms of what would happen if you had no grandchildren. We need to make this more personal. And I am, very engaged in the politics. I vote pro-life, but there's an aspect of this, a family aspect that we must get into. And I do believe that some of the people who are militantly pro-abortion, who unfortunately belong to our religion, have either had abortions, and this is their way of dealing with it, is to be vehement about it. They can't admit that they are in pain, or they're just morally blind. Those people, I think, are almost impossible to reach. And then there's the mushy middle, where people don't feel strongly one way or another, and we have to reach them.
Okay, thank you very much, Alice. Yes,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yes, wonderful work. Okay, Liz, how about sharing with us now about how you talk about the pro-life issue?
I am not as embedded in the pro-life issue as you all clearly are. And you know that, Cecily. But what I do is, one, we have an organization here in New Hampshire called New Hampshire for Israel, and they are a conservative organization, which is stunning. So it's a group of, actually, it is a interdenominational, so it's Jews and Christians. It's a small group here in New Hampshire of conservatives that are pro-life. I believe all of them are. So at least I have this small group of people that I can talk to. And they are really an awesome little group, by the way. We need to connect you, Cecily, to them. So other than that, with my radio show, I'm not affiliated with a congregation here in New Hampshire yet, for just those reasons. Is that they are generally, progressive, right? And so I'm just not going to mess with that. It's just easier for me not to even start with that stuff, because it's very, it can be very political, life or no life. And so I am not affiliated. With my radio show, I have tried to get pro-life guests on occasionally. And I've only been doing this a couple of years, but so Cecily's come on a few times. I have organizations like, there's a group called Cornerstone Action here in New Hampshire, and they're affiliated with Family something or another. It's pro-life, pro-family, pro-freedom organization. So they've come on with me many times. I have 40 Days for Life. Again, these are Christian organizations, right? I have never come across, and I look beyond New Hampshire, but it is rare that I can find anybody, any Jewish organization or person for that matter, that will speak to me on the radio. Even I have a rabbi in Massachusetts. He is the faith leader of, it's in Stoughton, Massachusetts. I forget the name of his synagogue, his temple, but he won't talk to me. It's conservative, and he won't talk to me about the life issue, which is amazing to me. I have tried with Chabad to get them on with me, and they won't come on with me, which is, that one I find stunning. So I kind of do my best, but for the most part, so 40 Days for Life, I've had numbers of, folks from 40 Days for Life on my radio show. And that's kind of about it, because it is almost impossible to find any Jewish person or organization that will talk to me publicly about the life issue. So that's what I've done.
Thank you, Liz. Please tell us just briefly about your radio show. What's it called and when does it air?
Okay, I can do that. So the radio show is called Life with Liz, and it's on WSMN in Nashua, New Hampshire. And it's a small station, but not that small. Let's put it that way. They've been around for 63 years. And with various owners. And I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. And again, it's called Life with Liz. I have a Facebook page, which is Life with Liz NH. And then I even have a website now, Cecily, called lifewithliznh.com. And so it's not all life, it's not, but I'm clearly a conservative. And so I touch on conservative issues, life being one of them. And so I'm on Mondays and Wednesdays, by the way, from, where am I now? 11 to noon Eastern Standard Time. And in January, I'll start Tuesdays for 2 hours from 10 to 12. So moving up in the world. And so y'all can listen in and I try best I can with the life issues. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to invite all of us onto your radio show at some point, if that's okay with you.
Well, it's a lot. I do a lot of fun stuff, right? I mean, it's fun and but also serious, especially right now with politics, of course, which intertwines with the life issue, doesn't it? A whole lot, which I know we're going to head to. So anyway, but thank you, Cecily. Appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Bonnie, your turn. Thank you for being patient.
No problem. As you know, so I started Jews for Life in 1999, and I had that website up for many years. And in 2017, I began the Jewish Life League, which is an outgrowth of Jews for Life. I'm trying to reach the Jewish community with the truth, with the facts, because Hashem is pro-life. God is pro-life. Choose life that you and your descendants will live. One life, saving one life, you save a whole world. I have pages on my website which talk about the textual, authentic Jewish message, the authentic Jewish pro-life message, and I also am politically very, very involved. I was involved, of course, in the last election, as you know, and I'm trying to bring my voice as a pro-life Jew into the public and let other Jewish people know the facts, the truth, the fact that our religion is pro-life. And what I found is that I've had a lot of pushback, okay? I've had pushback from my family. I had someone in my immediate family who lost a job because of what I'm doing. I've had more success working with Christian groups, although recently I did work with a rabbi in Australia. You know who he is, Rabbi Shimon Cowan. We were working on the election together for President Trump. And there are, over time, I've had some Jewish people reaching out to me, telling me they like the work I'm doing, to keep it up, that they are pro-life. But for the most part, even when it comes to late-term abortion, I have found that the people in the secular Jewish community who are very militant to the left, they stay that way and they cannot be reached. I think Alice had mentioned, as she put it, the mushy middle. I call them people on the fence. I think we have to reach out to people who are in the middle, who are not as involved in this issue, and they need to know the truth and the facts. And one of the problems that I found, and by the way, here's another thing I've heard. People have actually told me, you can't be Jewish. You have to be Christian. Because if you're pro-life and Jewish, that means you're not you're a real Jew. I find that absolutely incredible. So I have found that, unfortunately and sadly, my experiences with the Christian organizations have been more positive and more supportive than with Jewish organizations. And even more, and more so, Governor Andrew Cuomo, when he had that lighting ceremony in New York, and Alice, you know what I'm talking, I was sick to my stomach, absolutely sick to my stomach. And I spoke to people about this. Do you really believe that we should have this so-called Reproductive Health Act that allows abortion not only up to the moment of birth for any reason, but even after the baby is born? And you know what? The people, and these are not friends of mine, just people I know who are Jewish, they would blame the Jewish woman or any woman who would have an abortion at that late stage. It didn't matter to them that the law was passed. They were more concerned, why would any woman do this? So they blamed the victim. We have to remember, women are victims of abortion. In Judaism, not only is the baby, listen, abortion is akin to murder. Rav Moshe Feinstein has said this. Abortion is akin to murder. We have to remember that. This is authentic Judaism now. And the woman is the second victim of abortion. The people I know in the Jewish community reject most of what I'm saying, almost all of what I'm saying. And unfortunately, they consider the woman the primary victim and the unborn child disposable. This is what got me involved in the first place. I think it's not only wrong, I think it's atrocious. And I think that I'm going to continue, look, I am going to continue spreading the word, spreading my message, being politically involved, trying to support pro-life candidates of any religion. I don't care, as long as they support the unborn child's right to live, because we have killed 62 million people. These are human beings. These are human lives. We've killed 62 million people that could be making a very positive difference in the world today. And nobody cares. So my goal is to be like a warehouse of information, just keep educating people, informing people through books, through videos, through my articles. I'm constantly writing. I'm a blogger, and I don't shy away from saying, hey, we are killing an unborn child. I don't concede to the whole concept of choice, of convenience. No. When people say they want to support a woman's right to choose, what they're really saying is they support killing these children. No. The answer to that is no. And to keep spreading the truth, Cecily, like you're doing, and like I'm trying to do, the Jewish pro-life message. That's what I do.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. You're so passionate about it. Thank you so much. It's such good messaging. I just pray Hashem broadcasts this discussion far and wide so that Jewish women and men who have never heard any Jewish people talking like this can start to think about it a different way, a life-affirming way. I believe very deeply that we need a spiritual renewal in the Jewish community at large, and it can only happen with this issue. I'm so blessed that we have these three rabbis on our board of directors now. We started with Rabbi Novak. He's an academic and philosopher from the University of Toronto. And then the last few years, we've had Rabbi Bovid come in and then Rabbi Nachman, and both of them, being pro-life. Now that the the COVID lockdowns, they're all online with their services. So it's been such a treat and so affirming to me as a Jewish woman to drop in on their religious services and hear their sermons when they mention the life issue. It's very life affirming. The synagogue where I was worshiping locally, it was neutral. They were afraid to talk about it, as we all have talked about here, because their pulpit is at stake. They'll become canceled and blackballed in the Jewish community. So they can't talk about it. And somebody came in after Yom Kippur who had been to the Reform Temple in town and told me that the rabbi had delivered a pro-choice, pro-abortion sermon on Yom Kippur. I was totally broken. I had to run out of the sanctuary. Even the words mentioned in the sanctuary just sounded so blasphemous and so awful that I had to run out of the sanctuary and cried in the hallway. And somebody came out and wanted to know what was wrong with me. And I told him, and I cried and cried and cried. And he was very sweet and tender. Interestingly enough, he shared with me later that his mother had had an abortion years ago, so he never knew his half brother. So there's so many people that are affected by this. But I do believe that, as we can share our message in our circle of influences, things will improve. I have to believe that, or why get up the next day? Why get up every day and try to do this? Okay, so the next thing I'd like to share is, and I don't want to run us too late, but I wanted to share one of the slides that we have on our PowerPoint, which does reference Rav Feinstein, who he seems to be the rabbi that most of the Orthodox pro-life rabbis always reference when it comes to this issue. So I'm going to screen share this. Let's see if I can do this and share this with our audience. So this is what Rav Moshe Feinstein said about abortion. He said, not only are Jews prohibited from having an abortion, but they are prohibited from assisting non-Jews from having an abortion too. According to halakha, abortion is prohibited for non-Jews. It's actually a capital crime. A Jewish doctor may not perform an abortion even if it would result in antipathy towards Jews. In response to 69, Rav Moshe not only categorizes abortion as bloodshed, he takes the rare step of unequivocally warning against relying on an erroneous heter for aborting Down syndrome babies. I'll just share briefly, and then we'll go around the room about that. I've been talking a lot this past year about how pro-abortion rabbis like the ones Bonnie mentioned, because there's the National Council of Jewish Women kind of reprised that whole thing with, it's called Rabbis for Repro. And again, over 700 signatures on this document, right, of these rabbis that are for choice. And to me, that just incites anti-Semitism because we're seen as baby killers again. And I think it's so very dangerous. But Rabbi Feinstein is saying if Jews come out as pro-life, it incites anti-Semitism, especially from the woke radical left. So it seems like that Jews get, from both sides. And I would love to hear your opinions about that issue. So we're just going to go back to Alice first. Okay.
Well, I live in AOC's district, and do not ask what the letters AOC mean. I mean, I live in an extremely woke area, and it's hipsters who are really causing a lot of the problems. What is my joke? They come here, they stay for a few years, leave their garbage, then go to another neighborhood to destroy, including the politics. I have a state senator. I'll tell you his name, Mike Gianaris. He was a big abortion supporter. He's Greek Orthodox, and the Greek Orthodox Church is officially pro-life. I saw him at the subway maybe a year ago. This was after the Amazon deal had been killed. And I said to him, you're a business killer and you're a baby killer, and I hope your church excommunicates you. I said that to him. And he looked stunned, and he said to me, they probably will. This is what I have to deal with. And so far as I know, they haven't. And I do have friends who are Greek Orthodox, and I wish the bishop would get on him. There are some Orthodox Jews in my neighborhood. There's a growing young Israel. I believe that they are pro-life, but we need, again, the mushy middle to get involved, because otherwise we're trafficking in really horrible stereotypes. We know the stereotypes about blood and the matzah being used for ritual. This plays right into this medieval canards. We don't care about these. This is atrocious. We, more than any people should care about these babies. Think about all the women during the Holocaust who went above and beyond to try to save their children. We really need to think about them. And also, the Nazis enjoyed torturing pregnant Jewish women. And I believe that RU-486 may originally have been developed by Nazi scientists. We need to keep this in mind, that this is about creating a death industry. We cannot be part of a death industry. You can be, look, I believe that the actor Martin Sheen is actually pro-life. I believe he's against abortion. You can be left-wing and pro-life. You could be right-wing and pro-life. You could be a Wiccan and pro-life. If you're Jewish, I believe that you are morally obligated to be pro-life. And we need to get the message out. And yes, it comes at the expense of being ostracized in some circles. And believe me, it's not easy for me living in my district with what's going on in the streets. We had demonstrators during the summer. It's very difficult, very, very difficult. And then you hear about the 300,000 people leaving New York. Well, look who our governor is. We have Nero as our governor. Who allegedly was born Catholic. His portrait is in Archbishop Malloy High School. They have not removed his portrait. So the Catholic Church has some blame also, because I believe they could do much more. I'm forgetting his name now, the Cardinal of New York. He refuses to excommunicate Andrew. Andrew is begging to be excommunicated. And he says, oh, I'm afraid he'll be a victim. He'll be seen as a victim. Well, he can be seen as whatever he wants to be. You want to set an example, excommunicate him. And we need some rabbis to do the same thing towards our pro-aborts. We can all unite in this. This is prohibited by Jewish law.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, that's exactly right. Oh, I just love your moral clarity. Being in that fire of New York, it has really made you strong. It's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much.
It's difficult.
Yeah. You're a strong woman, Alice. Thank you. Okay, Liz.
Okay. I will tell you that, for me, it's this, I'm sort of sometimes just a pragmatist. I kind of think black and white, right? For me, once I understood the timeline, y'all could help me if you could talk, but anyway, the timeline and the life cycle of a fetus, right? It was a no-brainer for me. So I agree with you all that those folks in the middle, that is where you have to go. And I think there's a lot of folks unsure of this, especially these days, because I feel that a lot of folks, let's just say Jewish folks, have got to be, like the rest of the population, blown away by what is I perceive as good and evil. There is something terribly wrong. Let's just talk America. When you wake up in America and it's okay, to burn down part of the city, right? I mean, so, and I'm just using that as an example. So I think, honestly, that this is an opportune time to go after this issue. And if you can present it to people, especially in the middle, who will listen factually, right? And that, because as I told you, I mean, it hasn't been just a few years for me, and I'm old, that, to know that, in fact, when does the heart beat? Cecily, you should probably jump in, but when does the heart begin beating, right? For a fetus, it's very early, 10 weeks. Y'all can shake your head.
About 18 days now.
I'm sorry?
18 days.
18 days?
18 days.
Holy mackerel. all I'm saying is people do not know this because the opposition has done such a remarkable job at lying, right, to the people. And so, and we know money's involved and blah, 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 blah. But I think it's an opportune time right now because I think that people are worried about this country. And I think that they are beginning to wake up to the fact that there is good and evil going on in the country. And if and abortion, I mean, of all issues, where is good and evil, here and of all issues. And so killing a child, a preborn child, to me is evil. I mean, when is it ever right? When is it ever right? And so I'll reach out. I'll continue to reach out. I can use my radio show. I can probably go beyond. But I think now is kind of a great time to strike and strike hard. And so I may ask my rabbi, my conservative rabbi, to have okay, be nice, Liz, to come onto my radio show and actually talk about the life issue that he won't talk about. And let's see, right? And so the more, like as y'all said, the more we talk, and especially to those folks in the middle, the better. But I think the time is right now. So there I have it.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. I think you're right. Okay, Bonnie.
Let's see. Well, listen, Rob Feinstein is absolutely right about this. We can't lie. We have to tell the truth. There are always going to be people who hate us for our views. Many years ago, I know Alice was talking very passionately about the Holocaust. There are many Jews who will say, don't compare this to the Holocaust. Well, actually, 62 million dead lives. I wrote a piece many years ago, and I think you've seen it online, Cecily. It's called Between Two Holocausts. And I talked about the propaganda. I talked about the lies that pro-aborts tell. I talked about how they talk about reproductive freedom and choice and convenience, but they never, ever focus on the unborn child that's being killed. We have to talk about that. I'm very fortunate in a way that my personal rabbi, I've been studying with an Orthodox rabbi locally here in Brooklyn for many, many years. And I've taken a lot of classes, and the people in his class are supportive. But guess what? They're Orthodox, okay? They're Orthodox Jews. Orthodox Judaism and Orthodox halakhic Jews understand that abortion is murder. Not everybody speaks out, and I'm hoping we can get more people to speak out about this issue. But from the radical left, we will probably continue to get pushback. It doesn't matter. We have to talk about the fact that babies are being killed. We have to talk about the methods that are used to kill babies, dismembering them, tearing them apart, limb by limb. I have spoken to people about this who defend this. They say, they still say it's a woman's choice. And I'll tell you what happens. Here's something a lot of people don't know. It was the United States Supreme Court that created this trimester idea, this trimester concept. You have abortion up to a certain point, the first 6 months of pregnancy, and then for the last 3 months of pregnancy, according to Doe v. Bolton. Roe v. Wade, supposedly, first 6 months, and then the last 3 months. You could have abortion for any reason up to birth. A woman's health can mean anything. It could mean her age. It could mean her familial status. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with preserving a woman's life, which is really her physical life. That's the only time in Judaism when abortion is allowed. We have to continue to share this message. If we get, I've already been, I'm just going to say this, I've been a victim of the cancel culture. And some of my articles have been censored because of what I'm talking about. I don't care. I get censored. I get right back out there and I start writing more. I start speaking to more people, and I tell the truth about abortion, about what's happening, about how many people are dying. If you spoke to people back in 1973, the people who were alive then, who saw Roe v. Wade being passed, and you told them, you fast forward them to today and they see what's going on, they wouldn't believe it. And that's the problem with progressivism. Progressivism is one of the most negative things. It brings people to a point where they will accept anything. As Liz said, evil. This is evil and people are supporting it. And I'm sorry to say, I don't see any difference. If people are supporting the destruction of babies' lives, the destruction of our future generations, that is a Holocaust. It isn't the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, it's a Holocaust here. And the worst part is we have a republic, we have a democracy. We don't have to vote for people. We don't have to vote for Charles Schumer. We don't have to vote for people who are pro-abortion. We could choose pro-life candidates. And I think it's very important for us to continue to do that and to keep the pro-life message strong and to defend babies and to defend their mothers and approach it from that perspective and bring people over to our side. And if they don't come over to our side, okay, we keep speaking, we keep talking, we tell the truth, and the people we do reach, they'll understand, and our movement will continue to grow. And we will protect unborn lives that way. We have to stay on message. That's how I feel.
Yes, Bonnie. Okay, thank you so much. We do have to keep talking about it. So I don't want to keep us much longer. I think what I'd like to do is go around the room again for any final comments by each one of us. And then please do, if you'd like to give your contact information again. Okay, so we'll start with Alice again. Please unmute, Alice, and then you can share a little bit.
I think that there are a lot more closet pro-lifers, even in New York City. And right now we are being driven to despair. I cannot go into the bakery and sit and drink a cup of coffee, but I can abort my baby. Does this make any sense? And this is how, and I think that I'm hoping that this makes people start to think. Plus, don't forget what happens in the nursing homes. Our governor, Nero, shoved these elderly people into nursing homes where they died. I'm told he's popular, but I don't hear anybody saying a single good word about him. So I wonder about these polls. I do think big tech is against us. Of course, we have big abortion to deal with, but I think some of these people are not as popular as they would want you to believe. And I do think that there is a secret sort of, I guess I call it the clandestine or secret pro-life push, even in New York City. And I do think that the lockdowns are going to make people think much more about the life issue. And I have, by the way, I have published in the Human Life Review, and I've published for Bonnie, and I hope to write again. I've published a little bit for you. And I have called, and I will continue to call Andrew Cuomo our Nero. Because like Nero, he's decadent. Remember, Nero killed, I think it was his second wife by kicking her in the stomach when she was pregnant. Tim, I could see Andrew doing that in a fit of rage.
Wow. Food for thought. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Do you want to give us any contact information?
Well, my email address, well, Ali Lemos, ALILEMOS at AOL.com. I do love to publish articles. I'm going to go back to writing. During the COVID lockdown, I've managed to take flamenco classes. I'm studying the Catalan language. You can see my book. I go into work 5 days a week. That's another thing. We're told, be good children, stay home and waste away. I say life is meant to be lived, especially now. This is all a death culture. They're draining us of our will to live.
Okay, thank you. They're not going to get you, Alice.
They're not, because you see, that's another thing. I'm a fighter. You must fight back. Don't be a sheep. Fight back.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay. Liz, would you like to make any closing comments and give us your contact information.
How do I top that? Um, Closing comments. Well, obviously, as I've said before, I am much newer to this issue, this topic, this issue than all of y'all. But again, I am passionate about it. To me, it's a no-brainer. And so if I, at my old age, can understand that, again, that what we are doing, what truly we are doing to these preborn children, I do believe that younger folks can too. And so with the right information, and I think that the more and more and more we push, the better. And I think as I said before, I am absolutely appalled that our Jewish community, I had no earthly idea that American Jews and even Israeli Jews, because we've got an enormous abortion industry in Israel as well. And you know what? I tell you, it breaks my heart in general, but it certainly breaks my heart you know what? And I will tell y'all, that's a number to use, because most Jews and probably Christians have no idea of the numbers of babies that are being killed in Israel. I will tell you that. I have a friend who who converted, well, she hasn't converted, but she believes she has the soul of an Orthodox Jew. And I would say, I would have to agree with her. She and I have talked quite a bit lately, and I told her about the numbers of Jewish children that have been killed in Israel, and she was astounded. I just think the facts are very, very important, and we have to do our best to outshine and outtalk and the abortion evil that's going on here, and it truly is. This is a fight, like many we have right now, of good against evil. And so I think that good and God, that's the way I put it, will always prevail, but we must fight. We have to keep fighting. And so I'll do my best in my own little way. So folks can find me at Liz Gabert, #1. That's LIZGABERT, numeral 1 at Gmail. And then I have the Life with Liz NH Facebook page, lifewithLizNH.com website. So, and Bonnie, I would love to get you on as well on my show. I think yes. I can't hear you.
Okay, yes, now I'm unmuted. Yes, I would be very happy.
I would love to get you on. Yes, I think both of you, everybody. But your experience and what you have done, I would love to hear about it, as would my listeners, I think. So
thank you. I appreciate that. That's great.
Okay. Thanks, Cecily.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Okay, then we'll just close out with Bonnie. Bonnie, any closing thoughts and your contact information?
Yes, okay. We have to remember that up until the time that Roe v. Wade was decided, everybody understood that life began at conception. People knew this. It was the Supreme Court who made this ruling that you've got trimesters of life. Well, when you start devaluing life at conception, guess what happens? You devalue life all the way through until death. And we have so many cases now. We have several states where assisted suicide is becoming more and more common, and we're killing people against their will, elderly people. As Alice mentioned, I mean, you saw what happened with our governor, with Cuomo, sending people who have the coronavirus to the nursing homes, killing thousands and thousands of people. It's awful. And I will continue to speak out strongly and passionately for life, because without life, you don't have anything else. You don't have liberty. You don't have the pursuit of happiness, and you don't have a future. Because think of of all the people that we've killed that would have made a difference in this world, that could have made a positive difference, the people that are missing, the people that are gone. I think Norma McCorvey once said, and she was Jane Roe, she said she went to a playground and she saw the swings and there were no children in those swings, and she thought about all of the missing children in her name. I don't really know if she was pro-life when she died. I know that she might have had a change of heart and gone back, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people think. What matters is the truth. Scientifically, genetically, and from every religious standpoint, unborn children deserve protection, and so do their pregnant mothers. Pregnant mothers have to know about their life-affirming options. We need to talk more about adoption and about the pro-life pregnancy centers that can help them. And it's like Alice said, you know something? You can have a girl 12 years old. She can't get her ears pierced. She can't get aspirin, but she could be taken by her adult boyfriend who made her pregnant to a Planned Parenthood mill and have an abortion and have her baby killed. And she's practically a baby herself, 12 years old, 13 years old. It's terrible. We can't let this happen. We have to continue spread, no matter who's president, no matter what party, it doesn't matter. We have to spread the pro-life message and stay on target with that. Now, as far as my contact information, the best place to reach me, it is info@jewishlifeleague.org. info@jewishlifeleague.org. That's where you get to me. And I'm looking forward to hearing from anyone out there who's interested in participating. I welcome articles, any articles on pro-life issues, whether it's abortion, whether it is euthanasia, assisted suicide. You're all welcome to join me and to come to my site and stay in touch. And that goes for everybody here. Liz, Alice, Cecily. It was great. This was great.
I do want to thank everyone for being here, taking your time. I know everybody's busy, to share your experience and your insights and your perspectives with us and the rest, of the internet community. I can only hope and pray that our testimonials and our courage in sharing with the rest of the world will give other people, other Jewish people especially, courage and fortitude to come out and rescue those who cannot rescue themselves, speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. I see our community growing. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Have a wonderful day and have a rest of a wonderful, happy Hanukkah.
I'm the news that nobody expected. I was never a part of your plan. I'm the reason why life as you know it feels like it's slipping through your trembling hands. And the doctors say I'm just an option, a mistake you can make disappear. I may not have a voice, but I'm more than a choice. I'm as real as the heartbeat you hear. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. I am God's miracle in the making. Proof that all things can work for the good. I am fingers and toes, and heaven already knows the name you pick out for me already belongs to me. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. Every life is sacred, and every life is a gift, and every life deserves a chance to live. I know you're scared, I know you're scared, I know you're scared right now. But when you hear my first cries, and when you look in my eyes, you'll understand why you brought me to life. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. May there be abundant peace from heaven and good life upon us and upon all Israel. Amen.